you know? And I remember even when David told me he was running for president, I said, oh yeah, I hope he wins, because, and David's like, well, he doesn't really have any political background. And I said, amen, thank God, really, seriously. This country actually needs somebody who has no political background and a great businessman. I mean, really, the country is nothing more than a great big corporation. Who else is going to be better than to fix it? And so we're going down that road. Well, anyway, when I'm there, rewinding back to 2009, I'm there, everybody wants to meet him, and he actually makes time. I went with one objective. Okay, first of all, nobody even believed me. I went around Lawton, Oklahoma. Okay, everybody knows where Lawton is. And it's a little tiny town. Well, I guess it's our third largest, but it seems tiny when you're there. And, and so I'm running around telling everybody, I'm going to meet Donald Trump. And I don't think hardly anybody believed me. And I know most of the people thought I was crazy that did believe me. And I get on the plane, I go, we're in the room, everybody's doing their thing. I went with 3 objectives in mind. My ex-husband at the time had told me, he said, so remind me again why you think this is a good idea? And I said, well, because. And I said, I want a picture with him, I want a testimonial, and I want an autograph to put with all that. And I'll be happy with any of those. Even if I just get one of those, I'll be happy. I'll be thrilled. I'll just jump out of my skin. And so I get there, and he gave me so much more than that. He gave me clarity. He answered the questions that I had. And for all of the people that were in the room, it wasn't just me. You know, it wasn't just me. It was everyone. He made time for all 30 people to shake their hand, to take their time, to say hello, to greet them, and not make them feel rushed, and not look at his watch, and not make you feel like, you know, I mean, he really genuinely cared, and dare I even say, to make their dreams come true. Not just to take a picture, not just to, you know, say hello, you know, next, hello, next, not like that, but really just to connect with each person on an individual personal level. And with my own 2 eyes, and this is what really, really gets me when people criticize him the way they do. Because with my own 2 eyes, and this, it sits real strong in my heart, because it's the way I was raised. And I'm gonna rewind a little bit more for a second. When I was about 6 years old, I didn't speak English yet. I didn't speak until I was 10 years old. And
She's
when
Cherokee.
everything that we ate was what my dad hunted. That's what we called dinner. And it was probably healthier anyway, so it wasn't a bad thing. And it was always better anyway. But I did have this fascination for peanut butter and jelly, I really did. And every now and then we'd get to walk to the store, which I really loved, because it was, you know, kind of like this, I don't know, daddy time, you know. And I loved it. It was only like 3 miles to the store, and we would walk, and we bought a loaf of bread. It's all we had the money for, was a loaf of bread. And there was a lady standing outside the store, and my dad looks at me, and he said, can you go ask her what she wants? And I said, okay. And I go up, and she's like, oh, nothing. And she said, unless you have some spare change. Well, we didn't have anything. We just spent whatever we had on that loaf of bread. And my dad said, well, she probably wants to get some food, give her the bread. Okay, now keeping in mind, I've grown since then. I was 6 or 7. And I said, no, that's mine. Not happening. No. No. And he said something so profound, and it obviously did not register at that moment. He said, trust me. Give her the loaf of bread and watch what happens. Just give it to her. I'm not asking. And I go up, and I give her the bread, and I've slept since then, and now I'm 50, so looking back, I'm sitting there, okay, so I'm trying to remember something from when I was 6 or 7. It was about 2 weeks. If I had to take a good guess, I'm not good with time frame. About 2 weeks later, my dad starts working for this guy. This guy comes out to the house. We don't know who he is. He's new to town. He's an optometrist. He comes in, and he's building a house not too far from where we live. And by the way, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. I started out on dirt floors. I grew up in a little tiny town, the same one, and Tahlequah, but not just Tahlequah, Pumpkin Holler, and I know some of you might know that, and so I always like to say it's this little bitty spot in the middle of nowhere on the way to somewhere. I mean, we had like no neighbors, and so it was really out there. And so this guy comes out, it's really amazing, and he comes out and he decides he's going to build a ranch. Don't know why, but okay. And he's going to build, well now I do, because it's just gorgeous out there, but when you're 7, you don't see that. And he comes over and he asks my dad doesn't, because he doesn't speak English, the only jobs he ever held were jobs that were handyman jobs, you know, build a fence, build a house, fix a porch, that kind of thing. And so this guy comes over, he says, you know, I hear that you're really, really talented, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you a job, so on and so forth. Long story short, the guy comes over, tells him, you know what, you just keep your own log, just keep make a notebook, keep your own log of your hours, let me know what it equals at the end of the week and I'll pay you. And my dad, he totally undervalues himself. He doesn't charge the guy very much, so the guy comes over, he pays him way more than what my dad had written down on the sheet of paper, but he also brings huge box of food, and it's got like so much bread in it that, I mean, I was like so in heaven, and it was amazing. It was, by the way, the first time that I was introduced to like that there was a difference, like that, like there was more than just like one kind of bread, and so it was really awesome. So moving forward, fast forwarding to 2009, this is why this sits so strong in my heart. I watched Donald Trump with my own 2 eyes walk outside and give somebody that appeared to be homeless money out of his own pocket. And it wasn't just like $5 or $10. I mean, it was a pretty good chunk of change. And he walks over and he makes sure that the crew of construction workers were working, and they weren't even working on anything that belonged to him. They were just New York City workers. And he goes over and he remembers them, which by the way impresses me because I have trouble remembering names. And he remembers everybody's name, and he gives them all coffee, and he does all of these beautiful, nice things. And I was just in awe of how somebody that has so much, that could so easily take it for granted, and so easily, because I mean, he wasn't like us, you know, he wasn't like somebody like us who came from nothing. Like I'm guessing that most of us here started from nothing or close to it. He wasn't like that. And so for somebody who came from compared to where I came from, a privileged background, for him to be so abundantly generous spoke volumes. That immediately set in my heart that I had so much respect for this man that there is nothing anybody could ever say that was going to take that away from me. And I'm so grateful that he won. I just, the whole time, and the ironic thing of that is, there were so many people that opposed my decision to support him in my community, in my little tight-knit community of Tahlequah. And I can't say Tahlequah, more of my native community. I had a lot of opposition within that arena, and I know why, and it's okay. It's a fear-based reason. You know, they were afraid that a lot of the benefits were going to disappear. They were afraid that, you know, a lot of the treaties were going to be dismantled. They were just afraid. It was a fear-based, and I think that's been kind of, maybe even across the nation, a fear. And I get it. I understand. You know, we're always afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of the unknown. That's just kind of how it goes. But I've had people that had gone out and threatened my father, and I would call him and make sure that he was okay, not let him know that anything was wrong. I would just call him. Well, somewhere along the way, somebody told him what was going on, that he had been threatened. And he had called me and he said, "What's going on?" And I, with the daddy tone, right? You know, you're being scolded. "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, nothing." And I said, I've got it under control. And I said, it's just, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, people are going to be the way they're going to be. And don't worry, I'm looking out for you. You're going to be fine. Don't worry. And I would drive out there and check on him, make sure everything was fine. And as we were talking, this is the most beautiful thing. My dad supports me through every decision that I make, and he supported me through this one. And I told him, I said, you know, I'm sorry. I apologized to him. I said, I'm sorry if this is putting pressure on you, but I really have to stand for this because I know I'm right. I just know I'm right. And he, with so much love in his heart, said, if you backed down, you are not the daughter that I raised. because that is not how I raised you to be. If you're gonna back down, I raised you to be stronger than that. And I said, oh, I'm not. And I said, I'm not backing down at all. And it's not even a second, no, it's not even a first thought. It's not even there's just no way. And he did. He raised me to be strong and tenacious. He raised me to stand up when I feel like I'm standing alone. And oh my God, there were times that I sure felt like I was standing alone. And then I realized, it dawned on me, how in the world could I possibly be standing alone when I've got God before me and my dad beside me? There's no way that I'm alone.